Okay, so this is the little short, harness from the MM-VC1 from Mechman, and this comes very loose right here, and it generally sticks out. I mean, you can see the aluminum, I think it is, and it could be metal, but you can see it way over here. And when you look in there, that's way back there. So you need to. This is the only problem with the MM-VC1. This connector here. The other ones are solid, good connectors. This one is pretty much fixed in there. You see? That one's nice. Okay, so there's not a problem. It's just this one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this doesn't come out again and stays right there on the edge. So it plugs into this one, which is actually pretty deep in there. You see that? Way back there. So this here, if it's sticking too far inside, it's just not going to make contact. So you need to make sure that this is the metal is invisible and it's in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some probably some weather strip adhesive, which solidifies into hard rubber to keep that wire there. Then I'm going to put a heat shrink and hold this wire tight to here. See if I can. Yeah, I can. Up to right here. So you can flip this guy up. So I'm going to put a heat shrink that reaches up to here. Over here, all the way to here. So that holds it in tight. The weather strip that turns into hard rubber should hold it in there, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it never comes out of there. That's a pretty good harness. All the connectors are super good. And of course, when you install the MM-VC1, you're going to have to install the module here to keep the ECU happy. This P103 module. Otherwise, it runs perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So here's the MM-VC1. Okay. So this is the short harness. That's in the alternator. That's a brand new, GM 145 amp alternator. Here's the short harness. Here's the connection. Again, I told you about the bad connection here, but I fixed it. I put some weather strip that turns into hard rubber, and that's going to hold it in there. Okay, and it runs there, and it runs here, comes over here, and I made a hole over here. I need to put a little bit of some more of this stuff. Anyway, I ran a hole through there, and I used a step drill from the inside. Okay, and I'll show you how I did it on the inside. I need to put some additional piece here to cover that. I don't like to leave wires just laying around like that. So we'll fix that. Anyway, I made a hole with a step drill big enough to run that wire through. That with the single wire connector over here at the alternator. And I'll show you what I did. But what I do with these, any accessories, I always put a relay. And I run them directly off the battery or the battery box. Okay, but I get power to a relay and I run the 87 inside the vehicle, and that is triggered off of a tap into. You can tap it into some things in here. I think I have it off the ignition, but tap it in there, and that's going to be the trigger 85 on that relay. And I ground 86, and 87 goes inside to a fuse box, and that fuse box works when you turn the ignition on, and that gets so you never leave anything, any accessory that you've added running. This relay is running off the ignition, so it turns on and gives power in there, and you put the fuse that fits it. I run a 10 gauge wire from this relay over to either the fuse box power or the battery, and that again, you put a little fuse box over there off this relay, and you get power. And then what I do is I run a wire, see right there? I run a wire for the ground from there inside over to the little fuse box that I have inside off of this relay. And that gets you ground off the, a good ground, a good solid ground that comes directly from the engine. And of course I've got a cable that runs, you see it right there? That cable runs and hits it right there. So you have it directly off the alternator. You have a ground off the alternator, and then a wire there going into the small fuse box inside off of this relay. And then you have a good solid ground directly off the alternator there inside, and then you run whatever you want to run. Now I've got more relays for auxiliary fans and lights, so you can run multiple relays for the specific purpose. In fact, I've got a voltmeter, and the voltmeter runs off its own relay. So that way you have power directly from either battery off of the specific relay. Anyway, that's how it's connected. And off of that relay inside the house, the fuse box inside is the MM-VC1 ignition, and the ground goes directly to the alternator because it has a wire directly to the alternator. So that's how you connect the MM-VC1 in this particular case, off of a fuse off of that particular relay, and then you can set the MM-VC1 to whatever you want it to be set at. Anyway, it's no big deal. I ran that relay to the little fuse box right there. See? So I have one relay running off of 87 that I showed you, and it's over here, and you can put fuses on there, and it runs off of the ignition, off of a fuse tab, off of the miscellaneous ignition. So there it is. See, no big deal. And I ran that wire, which is that yellow right there. See, that runs off of the ignition for the MM-VC1, and a lot of wires. They provide a lot of wires, which is pretty good. You know what? I had not noticed that. No, I can't. You can't really use those wires because that red wire is too short, so you're limited on just exactly where you can put this thing. And since I was limited, even though there's a lot of wires there, I could have put it on the right side of the dash, and I had some spots. I was going to try to put it in the ashtray, and again, it's too short. That red wire is too short, and I'm not going to cut it. You know, it's not necessary to cut it. In fact, you don't even need to mount it. But anyway, there's the ignition. Ground, again, the ground is right there. You see it right there? I just run a ground, like I said, from the alternator, and I run a wire from the alternator, and I run my grounds on the accessories that I've got off of it. Not many, but you know, you can run the accessories. So there it is. You know, it's real simple. I already showed you the wiring on the outside. Anyway, all I did is, I'm gonna back off here. I didn't have well, actually I didn't have any space because I can't run that red wire very far. So, here's what I did. Right there. See that? There it is right there. And it's attached with 3M double-sided tape. You use those tapes to put actually on the outside of the vehicle. You know, but you can also use it inside, and it's probably going to last longer. And it's super solid. I don't need to. I could have taken that little thing off the back here with the tabs and put a screw back in there. And I don't use this. I was going to put it in there. See? But it doesn't reach. That red wire doesn't reach. Here, this guy, I could have taken this out and put it in there. I can't do that. I don't smoke. I haven't smoked for a very, very long time. And I never, you know, I just never opened this thing. So it's perfect. And I put it in real tight in there. This thing is not going to come off of there. I mean, I'm going to have trouble taking it off of there. But it's not in the way. You know, it's right here. It doesn't hurt. I could have put it right there, but that red wire doesn't reach. And that's what I was going to do, put it in there. Because I could have moved this over here. I could have put this over there too, but it doesn't reach. So I didn't want to cut it. I don't have to cut it. I don't need to even mount this thing. But it's okay right there, just in case. And it's real easy, you know. And right here, I can push it up or down. I've got the voltmeters right there. I got one there, and one on this side for the other battery. Probably can't see it. So, but they're right there. And I normally also run one over here, you know, or here. You know, one of those plug-in deals. One of these guys, you know, you can run this. See? You can run it. With a battery. There's a battery right now. 4.8 volts, but I can, you know, I don't need to see it all the time. But I could. I'm probably going to run it for a while. If we need to adjust that thing, then I'll just go ahead and use it for a while. Otherwise, I'm just going to go, you know, it's ready to go. Real simple. You might find a spot to put that thing. Like I said, you don't even need to mount it. Anyway, it runs perfectly. Really, really glad they came up with this. I like the little clicks here. They're nice. Click, 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 up or down. So, no, not, you know, I'm not going to tell you how to change the frequency, but you don't need to. It runs just fine on a GM with 120, even though know it should be 128. Anyway, maybe sometime in the future I'll change it to 128, but it doesn't need to. It runs perfectly. Anyway, that's all you gotta go do. And I'll tell you, it's a real good deal. So I go off and if you don't like the way GM does its business with the battery, and I don't like it, put one of these in.